Greetings and salutations, everybody. This is Mama Rue's Ancestral Musings, where I talk about all things blackness, all things spiritual. I hope everybody's had a great weekend. I know I did. It was my birthday weekend. Hey! And I spent my weekend with my New Era Chicago family, doing what we do best, and that is showing love to our people in our own communities. This time we were close to where I live, very close, and it was hot, but it was good. Yes, it was very good. I come alive in this kind of heat. You know, I'm from the South originally, Mississippi, Alabama for a little bit, so this is my element. I kind of shut down a little bit when it gets cold. And here in Chicago, it gets really disrespectful in the winter. Today's topic is about ancestral warrior, being an ancestral warrior and what that means and what it doesn't. I also want to talk about this war that we are in. This war started when the first ancestor touched foot on this soil. Okay? That first African. It has never ended. It may have changed over time. It may have changed due to policy and certain changes and how we live, certain mobility that we've been able to gain. Some people call it progress, okay? And it's very real, and it can be appreciated. But that war on us has never ended. It's manifesting itself today in several ways, one of which is police brutality against unarmed black people. Another way that it shows is the violence in our own communities, which is in fact a symptom of the psychopathology of racism and white supremacy. I have spoken on this before in other episodes of this podcast. I want to touch on something a little bit different, though, and that is the concept of combating what seems to be racial hatred against us with the power of love. Recently, it was brought to my attention that a group of folks, mainly African folks, were coming together to try to address these issues using spiritual work and love as a platform or basis for this work. And it is something that I can relate to personally because of my past, my history doing spiritual work. I was raised Christian, but I was exposed to alternative forms of spirituality coming up, thanks to my mother, first and foremost. So my whole disposition towards spiritual work was one of love and light. I was always taught that love is the most powerful force of all, that God is love, and wherever you have love, hatred cannot thrive, and it cannot exist. And that is the kind of thing that most people can appreciate and accept as a personal truth. However, when it comes to combating certain enemies, you have to be able to see beyond what's right there in front of you. And some spiritual workers, myself included, have been given that ability. Even in a former episode of this podcast, I spoke to the power of love not working against those who don't resonate love. It resonates hatred. And so you can't really use love as a being who resonates love, as I believe all Africans do, or have the capacity to do. You can't really overcome racial hatred with that because they are resonating hatred. But I'm changing my stance on that just a little bit. What they are resonating goes beyond just pure hatred, as it is the flip side of love. They are resonating pure, unadulterated evil. These white police officers who don't have any way to deal with unarmed black people other than to shoot them with the intent to kill them, as has been the case with most of these cases, that is not just hatred. That is pure, unadulterated evil at work. Throwing love at it is not enough. That's where spiritual warriors come in. Now, not long ago, I was invited to join a group of spiritual workers who do work from that paradigm. And it didn't resonate with me because I'm seeing things for what they truly are. So I have to bolster up my mechanisms, my strategies, my ammo, or what have you, in order to meet this enemy where they dwell, so to speak. That is not in a place of light, people. That's in the shadows. Now, this place is not for the spiritual dabbler. It is not for the new seeker. It is not for people who are still wandering along their paths, putting things together, trying things out, figuring things out, and, joining in participations and study groups and things like that. This is not for the faint at heart. This is not for the inexperienced. Okay? You got to be seasoned. You got to have earned some scars, earned some stripes, if you want to get down to where the enemy sleeps, where he resides. Do you understand? You got to get dirty. You've got to get bloody. There's nothing pretty about this work. It has nothing to do with working with crystals. It has nothing to do with working with chakras. It has nothing to do with calling spirit guides and angels. This has nothing to do with that. The spirit forces of our ancestors, and I'm particularly talking to those ancestor warrior spirits, don't know exactly how to deal with this particular enemy. Now, if you recall, a few Saturdays ago, there was a worldwide ritual against police brutality. And there were individuals that let it be known that they were doing shadow work. Since I decided to do a family ritual, I did my work on the theme of protection. So if you are a light worker trying to do something of a spiritual nature, dealing with police brutality, that's where you should be. Okay? Work under the energy of protection. Call that down. Because if you're trying to cover that enemy with love and light, you're basically wasting your energy. Your spiritual energy is being wasted. Your physical time is being wasted. The material supplies and tools that you are using, waste. In order to vanquish and defeat and destroy the true enemy, you're going to need something harder than that. Now, how do I know these things? Well, I've been doing this work for several decades. And like I said earlier, I was operating from that whole love and light paradigm. I had some issues with an enemy over a course of period of years, actually. And when it became known to me exactly what was what, my first instinct was to cover them in love and light. Where they were doing things out of envy, I tried to bless them with love and prosperity. Because in my mind, if they had the things that they were, envious of others for, then they would just chill. They would fall back, and they wouldn't be working so hard to devastate and destroy the things that they were envious of in others. It didn't work. And I couldn't understand it at first. But then it was revealed to me by way of my ancestors and certain individuals who were speaking on behalf of those ancestors. They showed me and they told me that is not how you defeat this enemy, because they are not operating from a place of love and light. They're operating from the shadows. And the only way you can stop them is to be willing to travel in those shadows yourself. And I did. And ever since then, I have been working with both hands, the right hand and the left hand. Now, when it comes to love work, I do love work, but I focus on my community, because that psychopathology that has infected so many members of the community, that seed that planted it comes from the racial hatred, okay, or that evil. And it has manifested in a form of self-hatred. You hate yourself, then you're going to hate the one that looks like you or might represent you, okay? So that gets the love, because we are all beings of that kind of love. That's how we resonate. So maybe somewhere along the line where we have forgotten our true nature, that love work, that light work, is all about helping us remember who and what we truly are, so that we will be less likely to put harm on ourselves, because we see ourselves in each other. So if you are aligned with that type of energy, put it in the community. If you are a defender and a protector, put that work behind protecting your community and the members of your community, so these types of things won't happen anymore. But if you are a fighter and you are a warrior, then you need to do what warriors do. Warriors have no problem marching into enemy territory. They're not afraid of the things that go bump in the night, because they are the things that go bump in the night. They're not afraid of what might be lurking around the corner in the shadow, because they are the thing that is lurking in the shadow. Now, I made a post this morning on my Facebook speaking to that, because it seems that maybe people don't understand where I've been coming from. I've been talking this way for